I was very excited this week, to be completely honest. DC Comics had been going pretty strong, had some pretty damn good titles going through June. Next thing you know, we get Night Terrors for 2 months. It absolutely blows. It's not very good. And I've been waiting for DC Comics to come back. This is the big week. We finally get the finale, I guess, of Night Terrors, which I didn't read, but we get back into the mainline storytelling, which means it's time to kick off another event, Batman versus Catwoman, the Gotham War. I'm not even sure what this thing is called. But Batman and Catwoman are going to war, and it all kicks off with the very terribly named comic book, Batman Catwoman, The Gotham War, Battle Lines #1. Not only is it called Batman Catwoman, the main title, it's got 2 subtitles, The Gotham War and Battle Lines #1, because you got to have as many #1 issues as possible. And this is Chip Zdarsky, Tini Howard with Mike Hawthorne on art. Basically, I've never read a Tini Howard comic book, let alone comic book series or story that was even actually good. So I have low expectations for this, and I feel bad for Chip Zdarsky. I do believe this is the end. This will be the final death knell in his Batman run. It wasn't going great to begin with. Well, actually, to begin with, Failsafe was pretty cool. Then he went to an alternate dimension, and then everyone stopped caring about it. And this will be the moment when all the rest of the people stop caring about it even more. My goodness, this thing absolutely sucks. I have a lot of issues with this comic book, especially the concept behind Batman versus Catwoman, the Gotham War. You have to be like the dumbest person in the world to even think this concept is doable, like it would ever even work. And then the way that Catwoman like backs up like her success in this comic book like doesn't make any sense. You can blow like a billion holes right through it. It's not even like clever or smart. It just makes Batman and the rest of the Bat family as a whole kind of look really, really stupid, especially Jason Todd. We're going to get into all that. I'm not going to predict that Chip Zdarsky stops caring about Batman or doing a good job. But I do predict that Chip Zdarsky's Batman run will never be popular again, because I imagine he signed on for a lot of this stuff. If you read his Daredevil series, which is actually really good, especially the first part of it, before it gets rebooted and renumbered and all that kind of stuff, there are moments in it where you just roll your eyes. You puke a little bit to the side of the couch as you're reading the comic book, because Chip Zdarsky like really, really, really hates rich people. That's one of his triggers apparently, and he and Tini Howard are going about 1 billion times farther than he ever did in Daredevil, which was already too far. The way this thing opens, after fighting Failsafe and some other people and then fighting Insomnia, Batman goes to sleep for 8 weeks. Now, if he went to sleep for 8 weeks, he wasn't actually sleeping, he was in a coma, but I guess that's just terminology, and he wakes up and there's something different about Gotham. He's going out there, he's patrolling the streets, and he's noticing things aren't quite like they used to be, and he's about to get a big wake-up call because he's getting called in by Selena Kyle, masks off the entire Bat family because she's got to give a speech. And you can tell this portion of the comic book is written by Tini Howard by all the bisexual lighting. Apparently, the pastel colors of purple and pink are now associated with Batman. He's no longer in the shadows. He is absolutely fabulous. And she gives this really great speech. And this is the concept behind what she's saying. While Batman was asleep, she enacted a plan where she decided to take all the thugs that were working for the Joker and Mr. Freeze and the Riddler and the Penguin and all these other diabolical criminals, because she's not that bad. She decided to hire these guys and train them to be elite cat burglars. And the way that she has reduced crime, because she claims she reduced crime across the city by 75%, is to remove these goons and thugs from the really bad criminals and take them under her own umbrella, teach them to be cat burglars, and then tell them you could only steal from rich people because she's Robin Hood now, and there's a no killing rule because I guess she learned that from Batman or whatever. The statistics just don't really add up. Let's say Mr. Freeze is going to rob a bank and he's got 5 thugs working for him as he enacts his plan, and these guys are under like his side of protection. They're part of his crew and they do all their crimes together. When they rob that bank, they are committing one crime. Once you split them up and you take the 5 guys off of Mr. Freeze's hands and then you have them stealing individually by themselves, they're committing 5 crimes. So actually, she likely increased crime across Gotham City by 400%, but I guess statistics are just meaningless to Catwoman here. I like Mike Hawthorne. I think he has seen better days as a comic book artist, but he's never been my favorite guy, but he's okay sometimes. His portrayal of Catwoman in this comic book is absolutely hideous. There's no way Bruce Wayne would have ever let her give him a Hummer, let alone sleep with this woman. Look how absolutely fucking hideous her face is. Maybe they don't want Selena Kyle to be a sexy character anymore, which doesn't really make any sense, but this looks absolutely hideous. Easily the worst thing about this comic book. Otherwise, I think the art is competent pretty much across the board, and I am missing Clayman right now. I believe there's an enormous misconception about Robin Hood by modern day peoples. The legend is that he took from the rich and gave to the poor. You got to remember, the tales of Robin Hood happened at the end of the Middle Ages. And this is a time of great upheaval in England, where Robin Hood takes place. And basically, all the lords across England have become tyrants, and they overtax their people, they overburden them, and they don't provide them the kind of protection that they're supposed to under like the feudalistic rules and society that they're living in at that point. He's taking the stuff that they've already taxed the people, and he's giving it back to them because they're so poor they can't even eat anymore because they've been overburdened by their local lords and stuff like that. So while, yes, technically he's taking from the rich and giving to the poor, he's really just taking their tax money back and giving it back to them because the lords, the local government in the areas aren't doing very well. And it certainly is a story, an idea that would sit very well with the people of that time, because there was a lot of upheaval, there were civil wars, and a lot of people were very upset with the way their local lords were treating them. So in some ways, you could say Robin Hood was a criminal because he was stealing, but really he was just taking back what had already been taken from the people and allowing them to live their lives. And that's why he's a celebrated outlaw. Here, and I believe Tini Howard believes that Catwoman is Robin Hood in this story, they're just stealing from people. Now, if the rule was you could only steal from the government, I guess I could get behind that, and I could feel like Catwoman was being a very Robin Hood-like character at that moment. But once she just decides to steal other people's stuff because they're too rich to have it, then you're just a petty criminal. And the idea that she's somehow the good guy here can set up in front of the entire Bat family and spew this nonsense is absolutely ridiculous. It's completely unbelievable, and that is the premise of the fucking story. So stupid, and a complete misunderstanding of Robin Hood, which I'm not surprised by because it's Tini fucking Howard. You know, whatever, man. The story does go on, and we do get more bisexual lighting. The worst part of all of this is somehow this stupid speech with these statistics that don't make any sense, and the idea that being a criminal is okay as long as you're victimizing the right people, the people that we think shouldn't have their stuff anyway, actually becomes a point of debate and contention among the members of the Bat family themselves. Sure, Bruce Wayne is like, absolutely not. Nightwing Dick Grayson, a man of sound judgment, says, this isn't a solution. You've actually just changed the crime that was being committed. And then you also have Damian Wayne firmly on the side of Batman and Nightwing, which makes sense because they're actually heroes. And then all the rest of the Bat family are completely exposed as not being heroes whatsoever. When Damian gets up and profusely says, this is not the way to do it, you're all criminals anyway, spoiler says, but why should they go back? Talking about the criminals, she's giving them independence. So now, not only is she fucking Robin Hood, she's William goddamn Wallace for the criminals of Gotham City. That's what we're supposed to believe here. We've got the Signal, a millionaire who wakes up to find some jewels missing. Who cares about that? The fact that they're even having this argument makes it not a superhero comic book. Like, there's no way an entire family devoted to fighting criminal activity would react this way. Not to mention the patriarch of the entire family, Bruce Wayne, is a billionaire himself. And let's not forget, anyone who ever tries to break into Wayne Manor and steal his mom's fucking pearls gets an ass whooping of epic proportions, because it doesn't matter how much he has. You don't take his fucking jewels. I imagine just a few of the other way too rich people in Gotham that it's okay to rob might have some pearls and jewels that belong to their mother or their grandmother that are family heirlooms that really mean something to them. But according to Tini fucking Howard and Chip Zdarsky, because he goes along with it, and I imagine he was all behind this one, it's okay to steal people's shit. It's okay to steal their heirlooms as long as they're the right victim. Another weird thing that happens in this comic book, a lot of times you can tell when Tini Howard is writing the dialogue, and you can tell when Chip Zdarsky is writing the dialogue. They write a very different style of Batman, and the tone of the book feels completely alien compared to each other. This page in particular, I guarantee you, after all the stupid argument has happened, is written by Tini Howard. You know how I know? Because it's a fucking yuck fest. We've got the Red Hood after Bruce Wayne has been dressed down, and then also, let's not forget that Catwoman blames her leaving him at the altar because he was such an asshole saying, you know, Bruce, she's not wrong. I'm totally on her side because she's such a fucking girl boss. And then we also get another moment from Spoiler. Wow, I really don't like it when mom and dad fight. Totally fucking Tini Howard. She can't get out of her own way, and she's helping to destroy Chip Zdarsky's big break. This is his opportunity to become a mainstream comic book star, and it's never going to happen because this is just the first issue. This is the best that they can deliver, and it absolutely blows on arrival. There are a couple of other things about this comic book that absolutely chap my ass now that we're talking about it. Red Hood, because Selina's such a fucking girl boss, hopefully he starts calling her mommy after this, decides to break into her house or sneak in or whatever, and let him know that he wants to join their side, and then gets his ass completely handed to him. Selina Kyle, fucking Catwoman, Selina fucking Kyle, kicks Red Hood's ass basically by herself. He gets one punch in after she kicks his ass, and then a lady puts a knife to his throat, and then he gets his ass kicked some more. And still, after all this, he says, Mommy, I want to be your inside guy. I want to be the guy on the inside of the Bat family that's going to corrupt them from the inside and let them know that they should let you and your thugs continue doing criminal activity across the city, increasing the percentage of crimes by 500%. But let's not forget, it's the right victims this time, so I guess it's all good. And I'm going to turn them out from the inside, even though you just disrespected me, you kicked my ass, which could never happen, and I still love you, Bobby. That's basically what happens here. There's also a moment with Damian Wayne that I thought was really weird. Like I said at the beginning, Batman, they say he's sleeping, but if he slept for 8 weeks, he was in a fucking coma. And he finally shows up and he runs into Robin, who's stopping like a robbery of a museum or something like that. And when he shows up, he goes, my God, almost says Bruce, and it says Batman. Bruce, speaking to his son, says, Robin, look like you didn't need me, but, and then Damian fucking Wayne says, damn it, Batman, of course I need you, and gives him the biggest hug in the world. Who the fuck is this? This is not little shit Damian Wayne that never needed help in his entire life. This is not little shit David Wade that has a pretty big chip on his shoulder when it comes to his father. What is going on here? This is not that character. I understand they might have reconciled after Batman versus Robin and Night Terrors or whatever, but let's not go overboard here. He's still supposed to be Damian fucking Wade. They totally ruined that character too. There are a bunch of other things in this comic book that absolutely pissed me off, but these are really the big ones. And once you kind of get what the premise of the book is and the concept behind it, it just falls apart, it falls flat, and it's absolutely not worth reading. And this is the big beginning of the next event, because once Night Terror is over, you got to get into the next event, which is going to lead into another event, which will lead into another event, because DC Comics is just an event-driven comic book publisher now, like Marvel was for the last 10 years, which completely killed their business, and DC Comics didn't have enough fans to chase off, but they're doing it anyway. If you like this, I would love to hear from you. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me that Selina Kyle does not look like a beast in this comic book. Tell me that Selina Kyle gives a speech worth listening to. Tell me that the Bat family would be like, you know what? So technically, you know, it's the right victim. We should probably just fall in line. They're doing the right thing. It's like, what an absolute joke, man. I feel bad for Chip Zdarsky, but then I don't feel bad for Chip Zdarsky. He's the one that signed up. He's the one that said, you know what? Tini Howard already destroyed Jonathan Hickman's enthusiasm for X-Men and basically destroyed him as an X-Men writer. Maybe I'll bring her on board for a big Batman fucking event. Well, the joke's on you, man. You're going to learn a hard lesson everyone else did. And I imagine Batman will recover from this eventually, but I don't think it's going to recover under Chip Zdarsky because I can already see where this is going. And by the end, everyone's going to fucking hate it just as much as I do because I am Westradamus. I can read the temperature of the room and I can see exactly where this is going and how people are going to react to it. Tini Howard has been an absolute failure her entire time at Marvel Comics. If you need an example, she's actually rebooted the exact same character with a new name 3 times, and the last time it actually got canceled in 5 issues. Absolutely spectacular job on your part, Tini Howard. You got it canceled for a 3rd time, but this time in 5 issues. There's also a link in the video description.